The dropkick has been nerfed. An old online tip is to dropkick your way to victory. However, since then, the dropkick has been nerfed. It isn't a viable primary weapon the same way that it used to be. Dropkicks are best used for knocking enemies off of high places. Also, while flying with your paraglider near the enemy, double tap on L1 for the PlayStation or left bumper on Xbox and you will finish with a dropkick. If you press the attack button while on your paraglider, you will do a dropkick finish if you are near an enemy. However, if you are much higher up, you can cancel the paraglider, press and hold the attack button, and if you have the ground pound perk, you will fall on land with a smash. Weapon repair tips are immaterial. Speaking of changes, the old tips on maintaining your weapon and the correct charm are now obsolete. You can now go to the Craftmaster and have your weapon repaired. So even if your weapon is completely broken and unusable, you can still go and have it fixed. This is great because you can level up your best weapon mods, you can pop them onto your favourite weapon, and you can use it for as long as you like. How does the in-game store work? Items cost DL points, so first you go to DL points and you buy as many as you need. They will use whatever payment system you have set up to pay for your games. I then go looking for what I want, which for me is the rifle. To redeem whatever you have bought, you need to have fully finished the first mandatory mission. If you chose to play the prologue, then you need to get through that too, then the first mission, before you can redeem your items at Aiden's stash. Once you have redeemed the gun, go back to your inventory at Aiden's stash and move over your items from your stash into your active inventory. I can now use the gun. You get ammo from military convoys, usually from these yellow crates. Some varieties of enemies will drop bullets, shotgun shells there. This one dropped SMG bullets, and you can buy them from Jai in return for his tokens. You won't accidentally sell your reward box. This reward box here is lumped in with miscellaneous, yet when I sell all, I go back over into inventory and the reward box is still there. In short, don't worry about accidentally selling your reward box. Health regeneration only applies to your baseline health. The health regained stat on your clothing only refers to how quickly you regain health when you are below your baseline health number. On easy and normal, this is 33% of your total health. On hard, it's 20% of your total health. For example, on the left, I jump off the roof and I receive damage, but I have no health regen modifiers. On the right, each item of my clothing has health regen speed perks. As you can see, my health gets to 132 faster on the right than it does on the left. And again, no matter what you wear, health will not be regenerated past that baseline number. Campfires regenerate your health. Those campfires on roofs will heal you. The longer you sit there, the more you heal. As you can see, I keep switching between my inventory screen. Up there, my health keeps going up bit by bit over time. Nutrient bars, typically found in fridges, will also help you heal too. Water taps in buildings used to refill your health, but they don't anymore. Weapon level matters more than rarity. The rarity of a weapon is important, but so is the weapon's level. Take a look at this. This is a common cricket bat and it's got 121 damage. This is a purple unique hammer and it has 67 damage, which is significantly less than the cricket bat. That's because the cricket bat is level 6 and the hammer is only level 4. Now, take this example. You have this unique purple hammer, it's got 186 damage and it's at level 6. This is a crafted item, so it's the same level as me. And in this example, I'm at level 8. This has 391 damage. So even though this is only a rare blue, this has 391 damage, whereas the unique one only has 186. The purple one is 2 levels below my crafted item, and as a result does less than half the damage, despite the fact that it's rarer than my crafted item. Level up lockpicks to brute force locks. Modify your lockpick blueprint all the way up to maximum, and then you can brute force easy, medium and hard locks. This allows you to open locks very quickly, which is a great bonus considering how often you have to pick locks very quickly. When do guns appear? The Lost Armory mission is a level 4 quest and it comes through as a radio call. As you can see here, I was on the story quest Observatory before receiving the phone call. You have to go through all of that story nonsense with Sophie before receiving the Lost Armory quest. You then get this message.
Calling the Pilgrim.
Who's this?
Got some work for you. You're going to want to hear about this in person. Meet me at the fisheye. It'll be worth your while.
You cannot look down the crosshair sights right away. You need the precise aiming perk, which is this one here. To buy weapons, you need to complete survivor missions, which earns you tokens and reputation points. These which you can spend with Jai at the New Dawn Park. He's just over here. He also offers bounties which you need to activate prior to taking on your survivor missions. The more reputation points you earn, the better the stuff you can buy. Crafted weapons level up as you do. If you are at level 8, then when you craft a weapon, that too will be at level 8. Even if I crafted a weapon when I was level 3, it would still operate at level 8 because that's my current level. If you want the upgraded version, you do it with this button here. You can upgrade it all the way, after which, every time you craft that weapon, it will be upgraded and at your level. Add some top level modifiers and you have a very dangerous weapon that you created rather than going out and having to find. Buying the electrical blast for your second playthrough. If you have played through most of Dying Light 2 before and you are coming back to it, then do consider a microtransaction to buy the electrical blast. I bought these midway through the game, so I didn't have to wait to redeem them. They appeared very quickly in my nearest stash. As a long-time player, you will probably only use the electrical blast until you find a very powerful crowd control weapon, or perhaps during bounties when you have to protect something. In short, it's not really a genuine offensive tool. It's more something for avoiding annoyance and hassle. It's best suited for veteran players who are looking to start again and who want to burn through those earlier quests so they can get to the guns and grapple hook and bounty hunting more quickly. Don't worry if you miss inhibitors. If your detection device shows an inhibitor is near but you can't find it, don't worry too much about it. As the game progresses, you unlock antenna towers. These will show you on your local map where the remaining inhibitors are located. Also, if you unlock an area and you miss one, you may later notice that the inhibitor is still marked on your map. This is because it has respawned in your sleeping area. A small trophy farm that won't be patched. There are plenty of areas where you can farm for different types of trophies, but over the years, the ones that are deemed exploitative have been routinely and rigorously patched. This area will not be patched because it isn't an exploit. It is tactically a very advantageous position. There are very defined areas of UV effect that you can back into while you're being attacked. Furthermore, when virals jump on you, or even when they attack, they force you backwards into the UV zone. The respawn area is very near, which means even if you die, you can run back up here and, as you see, most of your prizes are left on the floor for you to pick up. If you run from this general area over to the Craftmaster and then run back again, most of the bodies will have despawned and turned into prize packets. If you use large, swinging weapons, then you may knock the enemies all over the place. Use smaller weapons like this and you can pile up zombie corpses for easier package pickup later. Also, since you are only farming for small and large trophies in this area, there's nothing stopping you from turning down the difficulty to easy and having a little fun. Hold the cancel button to slide down ladders. Hold circle on the PlayStation or B on Xbox and you will slide down a ladder. Climbing a ladder doesn't cost stamina, nor does sliding down one. Also, a lot of tipsters say that you should take this game very slowly and loot everything, but I disagree. There isn't much worth looting during the first third of the game. Do your more thorough looting during the later parts of the game, when there's better stuff lying around. I mean, do grab inhibitors and valuable stuff when you see it, but as for looting every drawer and every bin, I would highly advise against it until later in the game. Suggested first time settings. If you are playing for the first time, or you are coming back after a few years, I suggest setting difficulty to normal, stamina to regular, parkour to assisted, and auto sprint to on. I left HUD as action because I record a lot of footage, but RPG is probably the best. Also, play through the prologue for a no consequence refresher on the game's controls. Turn on health bars and awakening bars. They are here in the HUD section of your menu. Turn all three on. The awakening bars are great for early in the game when stealth is still a factor. You can see how awake the enemies are. Lights don't wake up sleeping zombies. The health bars are just as useful. Having them turned on allows you to quickly assess which of your weapons and tools are having the most effect on your enemies. Take these examples here. A piece of regular C4 on the left, a fully upgraded piece of C4 on the right. Each makes a big explosion and knocks down a bunch of enemies, but it's easier to see which is doing the most damage thanks to the appearance of health bars. Turn on QTE hold mode. If you are planning on sinking hours into this game, you must turn on QTE hold mode. The sheer number of times you are asked to mash a button in this game is intolerable. Do your fingers a favour and set this one to hold. You may also want to turn down the adaptive triggers on the PlayStation, especially if you want to go easy on your fingers as you play. Enemies Decapitated bounty. The easiest way to decapitate an enemy is to get their health down low, use a slashing weapon, and do a power attack holding R2 on the PlayStation or right trigger on Xbox, aiming near the shoulders and releasing the attack to perform the move. Mutation samples are used with agents. In an early area, the Central Loop, New Dawn Park, just above the area where your bed and stash are located, here you receive bounties to build up your reputation score, and tokens which allow you to buy things from the vendor section just here. You can see there it's early game and I just completed a bounty for Harper and now I'm at level 2. There is more than one agent. Here is another one that you will find as you explore the map. Rollback to undo a soft lock. If you experience a game-breaking bug that means you cannot progress, or perhaps you accidentally sold your military tech to buy legend points, then consider going back to Play Campaign on your starting screen, going to your current save, and holding the Rollback button. Just beware that the rollback takes you a fair distance backwards. In my example here, I'm rolling back over 40 minutes, which is a fair chunk of time when you're playing Dying Light 2. The rollback was initially created to give you a way of undoing a bug-related softlock, or to allow you to go back to choose a different story path. Again, if you've just climbed a very difficult structure only to fall off the very top, rolling back your save won't help. Ironically, if you do fall from a very tall structure, quite often you are better off letting your character die, because there's a chance, at least a mild chance, that you may be respawned at a high or higher elevation. Green Leafy Updraft Winds. You may already know that the Green Leafy Updraft Wind refills your stamina and pushes you in a certain direction. What I didn't know was that the direction can be upwards. In this case, rather than being pushed off to the left or right, the wind pushed me upwards so that I could reach this rooftop. Use boosters for generator protection missions. One of the toughest parts of survivor missions are those protect the generator missions. Your best bet is to take a toughness booster and regeneration booster, fully upgraded if possible, so that even if you run out of stamina, you can just stand there and tank a bit of damage while you get your breath back. Also, having a few distraction items helps out too. Always buy scraps and military health packs. Scraps appear in the recipes of many of the best tools, including throwing knives, which on their own are pretty awesome when they're fully upgraded. Make sure you buy scraps at every shop that sells them. It makes your life far easier later in the game, when you're using up all of your tools during survivor missions, bounties, and especially during difficult bosses. A similar scarcity seems to exist for honey and chamomile. This is because they're not really sold in most of the shops, so you often find yourself running out of the craftable health items. Circumvent this scarcity by buying military health packs whenever you see them. If you are actively buying them in order to create a stockpile of these items, it becomes less frustrating later in the game, because it means you don't have to take detours to keep farming up the healing craft materials. As a side note, this shop here in St. Paul's Island is the only shop I have found that specialises in health items. Commit fully to PKs or survivors. Your gaming instincts will tell you to mix it up a bit, but the best benefits are received if you commit all territories to one faction or the other. For my first playthrough, I always side with the PKs because they offer the best defensive weapons throughout all of their territories. Then, for New Game Plus, I side with the survivors, since at that point, surviving night chases is fairly easy, and getting around more easily becomes more important. You cannot harm story-related NPCs. Unless the story calls for it, you cannot hurt an NPC who's linked with any sort of mission. This one here took no damage from that grenade. If an NPC is linked to any sort of story, then that NPC cannot be hurt. I take a swipe at him here, but he remains unharmed. In short, you don't have to be careful when you are battling side by side with any story-related NPCs. How do you allocate Windmills in Dying Light 2? Windmills are not meant to be assigned to various factions. Windmills have their own purposes. They set up a small base location, and they activate faction perks within a certain area. As you can see, I cheated my way to the top of this one, but for some reason there isn't a prompt to activate it. That's because one of the renegades guarding the windmill is still alive. He's actually hidden away right over there. A quick arrow through the skull fixes his wagon so that I can now activate the windmill. Do I lose my stuff or mission status after I die? Generally, you don't lose anything when you die. This includes story items. For example, here I am swimming under some nasty stuff to find a spaceship part for my intergalactic rooster. See here, even after I die, I go back to my alien chicken and the story completes as normal. We even get to see Sergeant Spacecock disappear into the worldly beyond. You don't go back in time when you respawn. So if you used a bunch of tools and then ended up dying, you'll have to do it all again minus the tools you used. You may lose your nighttime bonus if you die before the dawn, but you are only losing the bonus additional experience points that you gained, and not the baseline experience points that you would have accrued, be it day or night. How to throw knives. Select these squares on your tools, and here I put in some exploding knives, some throwing daggers, my grappling hook, and an electrocution device that I bought as a microtransaction. Select your item by pressing left on the D-pad on gamepads, or pressing number 1 on PCs. Then, on the gamepad, press L2 on the PlayStation, or left trigger on Xbox, and you will throw the item. On PC, you press and hold the middle mouse button, and then release to throw. When you are aiming your knife, hold for a short while, and a marker will appear that designates where you're going to aim on your enemy. I have the serial shot skill, so I press and hold, and it targets 3 enemies at once. A clothing farming method. As noted by several online tipsters, you can revisit old inhibitor boxes every 30 minutes to farm up items and clothing. Vendors reset their stock every 30 minutes of real time, and the same is true for used inhibitor boxes. When you get to this area here, unlock the antenna and take a screenshot or photo of the inhibitor locations so that you can revisit them later. They are all nearby and fairly easy to get to, and so is a good location for farming pieces of clothing. Side fully with the PKs or survivors. For me, I always completely side with the PKs on my first playthrough because I think their tools are better, and you get the crossbow, also the stationary guns lying around, and they offer things like this, which I grant are a novelty, but there's nothing wrong with that on your first playthrough. Some story beats change depending on who you side with, but for your first playthrough, give it all to one side or the other. By the end of the game, the city is such a mess, especially philosophically, that it doesn't really matter which team you sided with. Battery farming. During the endgame, batteries are probably one of your most desirable resources, especially if you're following my previous advice about buying scraps whenever you see them in shops. It says on the inventory screen that batteries are found in excavation convoys and Forsaken stores, but I find them more consistently in these types of vehicle, typically in military convoys. They look like this on the map, and in which you're likely to find batteries, and in the yellow crates you'll find bullets. Complete the game whenever you like. You can start the epilogue as soon as you like. The warning screen comes up at the start of the mission, and it seems as if you have to wrap up everything else before you start it, but you really don't. In fact, if you were looking to complete these side missions and such, then there's nothing wrong with you doing it after the game. Just make sure you are fully stocked up on upgraded UV lights, health packs, and UV boosters before you start the epilogue. A fully upgraded grappling hook helps too. When you complete the game over on Play Campaign, you can continue with the game, or you can jump straight into New Game Plus. Hit the boss 10 times without taking damage. The Perfect Moves bounty asks you to hit the boss with a melee weapon 10 times without receiving damage during a survivor mission. I suggest you take the Highway Star survivor mission if it's still available. Regular or elite, it's up to you. Pick a fast weapon like a knife or hand blades or a small axe and add frost modifiers. If you add something like bleed, then the boss may die too soon. Using the bow, sneakily take down all the other enemies. You have to hit the boss without taking any damage, which includes any damage from other enemies. The boss in this case is called Roadblock. The trick here, as you can see, is to attack the boss as it tries to get to you. Keep your distance and try your best to get at least 10 injury-free shots before the beast dies. Defeating a charger using a mine. To defeat a charger using a mine, you need to knock it over. Try having it run into something and then finding a way to knock it over. Some people use a grenade. In my case, I was able to grapple hook the charger from behind. Then I threw a mine while it was lying down. If the charger has just run into something, it's possible to slide into it and knock it over. Let me just show you that again. Though, in my opinion, it's easier to grapple hook the charger from behind using a fully upgraded grapple hook, and then drop a mine or 2, or 3, and let that blow up the charger. Range stats don't affect guns. Ranged damage stats on clothing will affect your bow and your crossbow, but will not affect any of your guns. You will just have to take my word for it on this one. I did do a battery of tests, including different types of clothing and guns, all of which I was editing together, and it was by edit number around 73 that I was getting frustrated at the sheer amount of work involved in simply trying to prove this point, so I stopped doing it. I mean, I have spent months making some of my videos, which are never ever recommended by YouTube, and then subsequently have been seen by almost nobody. I mean, I don't know why, perhaps because I don't say subscribe in all of my videos. Suffice it to say, saving me from editing together all of my test videos, take my word for it, ranged damage doesn't include guns. When to upgrade your immunity inhaler. Eating UV mushrooms is not a great idea, simply because they don't last very long. They are better used to create immunity boosters, which are far more effective and long-lasting. Early game, upgrading your immunity inhaler is as comparably important as upgrading your lockpicks. Just remember that night time lasts 7 real-world minutes. Therefore, by the middle of the game, if you are collecting immunity boosters as you go, you should have well over 7 minutes of immunity as your base stat. In fact, once you have collected all of the inhibitors in the base game, you will have 15 minutes and 41 seconds of immunity to play with, making immunity booster inhalers a seldom used item. Also, if you are all out of immunity boosters, just craft and drop a UV light, and as an added benefit, it keeps the nasty monsters at bay for a while. The Health Regeneration Booster Inhaler is awesome. The quickest healing product is the Military Health Pack because it's very quick and it recovers a lot of health. A fully upgraded health kit is fine, but it still takes a while to apply, which means you have to run and hide for a second. The best way to heal is with a fully upgraded Health Regeneration Booster. You can take it quickly, and even though healing takes longer, you get far more value for the resources you invested. Add this with a toughness booster, and you become super durable with health that keeps regenerating for 3 real-world minutes. Using the Paraglider properly. What I didn't know for the longest time are the very tooltips that the game offers when you fully upgrade your Paraglider. Here they are. These are the PlayStation controls, but you get the idea. You can pull backwards to fly upwards, and you can boost by pressing down on the left analog button. I was 100 hours into the game before I realised you could do this. I'd been having the hardest time reaching some of the higher elevations because I didn't know I could boost. It lets you get all sorts of places. I actually messed up the jump there. I sort of sloped off rather than jumping, and yet, even though I opened my glider pretty late, I was still able to boost my way all the way up here. This sliding down the billboard thing too, it isn't much use as far as I can see, but I was still unaware you could do it. Quickfire tips. When stood on a vent, press square on PlayStation or X on Xbox to fly in the air using your paraglider. If you are being chased, these winches offer a very quick escape. If you are struggling to pick up loot because you are being chased, run around and let the bodies despawn, and then throw down a UV light to keep the monsters at bay. The same is true when you have to hold or tap in order to get something or enter somewhere. Here I throw down a UV light and I have all the time in the world to get into the military trailer. Keep a UV light and knife in your inventory. Do so and it becomes an option when you are grabbed. It doesn't even need to be equipped. If you have them, you can use them. Using the UV light at night during GRE monster battles means that you can use as many noisy tools as you like. It will still attract the monsters, but they will steer clear of your UV lights. Leveling up health and stamina equally offers the easiest in-game experience overall. Both are equally important, even though it seems like stamina matters more at first. During the day, crouch near a hollow and shoot through to kill all of those dangerous enemies. You can then wander in and collect all of their stuff without fear of being torn apart. At night, there are fewer enemies in there, so you can just slide right through to avoid the chaos outside. Avoid a goon's swinging attack by crouching, and as a happy byproduct, the goon misses you while still hitting all the zombies that are trying to surround you. Once your grapple hook is fully upgraded, you can grapple between lampposts. Press the block button while grabbing a ledge and you will swing under it rather than climbing up. This allows you to dangle outside of a window and swing your way inside. This is what a volatile hive looks like. If you are trying to do a bounty and it calls for volatile hives, it's this thing here. Look for this symbol inside of a building, and that will mean there is a volatile hive. Hit electric boxes and they will electrocute the surrounding areas. Hit fire hydrants for a blast effect, which I am doing here with a bow and arrow. And as you know, if you see a red barrel or fire extinguisher, then they will blow up too. Throw things at enemy mines to set them off, including knives, or just shoot them. The grappling hook seems to make a handy weapon. It's been a while and they haven't patched this, so I'm starting to think it's an intentional feature. Aiming for the head will typically cause more damage. See how I need 2 shots to the body, and yet all of my shots to the head become a 1-shot kill. Use a ranged weapon to explode a boomer, or bomber, whatever they're called, because they cannot climb. Those suicide boomers or bombers can also be killed with a ranged attack. Though these ones are fast, so I took it out with my grappling hook because it was already in my hand. Charges are annoying, but they're not that dangerous. You can stand next to a wall and let it charge at you and then dodge, or you can find a sort of step or ledge and it can't hurt you. The glowing area on its back is its weakest point. If a spitter has not seen you, then the bow and arrow will save you a lot of aggravation. If it has seen you, then the gun is probably best. If you are close enough, then a fully upgraded grappling hook is pretty effective too. If you cannot complete the mission, to kill or not to kill, then don't follow the convoluted mission path in New Game Plus. Simply complete the game as you play and through the epilogue, after which it resets and resurrects any of the NPCs, after which you can walk up to these doors and the mission starts. Trapping the black volatile in the cage at night. This isn't a difficult mission. There is a high-level volatile in the general area. Get it to chase you, and then press the button as soon as you see the prompt. The volatile still made it out, but I pressed the button prompt in time, so the quest was considered complete. Catch bolters with a fully upgraded grappling hook. It's often easier because you probably have your grappling hook in your hand anyway. You can retake quizzes as often as you like. This means you can brute force your way to completing them. If you get the question correct, he moves on to his next question. If you get it wrong, then you have to start the quiz again. So, that's all of the tips I have on this game for the moment. The developers have changed this game so much since it was first released that a lot of the tips I intended to put in even just a year ago have changed quite drastically. I don't normally ask for likes and subscribers and such. However, my last video, the one for Assassin's Creed Mirage, it took me well over a month to make, and at the time of making this video, it only has 191 views. So I'm going to break my tradition of not asking for likes and subscribes, and just say, if you were considering subscribing, please do.